Hello, everyone. I'm David Widmar with Ag Economic Insights, joining you for a chart of the week update where we step back behind one of the articles that we've recently written and we talk about a little bit of the data and the charts that go into that. This week, I'm thinking about Indiana farmland and cash rents. The report just came out a few weeks ago. We had a Ag Forecast Network question that was open for several months, and we initially posed the question: what's the probability of cash rents and farmland values? Two questions. What's probably of those decreasing by more than 2%? Of course, we share some historic context, and there are some decreases throughout history. About 16% of observations for values declined since 1975, and about 22% of observations since then had a rent decrease of more than 2%. So what we saw, although the result in the data is that values increase for both. So this chart here shows average quality Indiana farmland, and as you can see, it was higher in 2024. It was at 5.4%. That is more than we saw last year, and it's in the ballpark of what we'd expect for the long run average. So if we knew nothing about the farmland markets, we might say, okay, what's the average year over year change? What's the median year over year change? So the average is a 6% change. The median, about half the time, it's 5.5% or larger, and then half the time it's 5.5% or smaller changes. So if we knew nothing about the market going into this, nothing about the fundamentals of a tight um, returns for corn and soybean production, lean returns for corn and soybean production, a higher interest rate environment than we saw just a few years ago. If we knew not, we didn't know any of that, we might think that, hey, 5.4%, what we actually observed is in line. So there's a lot of conversations about framing the farmland market using cooling or stabilizing, and I think it's really a reversion to the mean, and that's a little different than cooling or stabilizing, at least in my mind. Cooling or stabilizing might be what we saw back in that 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19 window, where we saw some decreases or some very small changes. And those valuations. What we see here, on the other hand, is we saw this big run up in values, 30% increase just a few years ago on a year over year basis. And that was after a more than 10% increase. And we've seen this all slide back to this average. And so we haven't really seen, in my mind, a cool down or an adjustment. It's sort of carrying on in this reversion to the mean. When we took a look in the other chart, also, we took a look at cash rents are a very similar story. It's a little smaller increase, but we still saw this reversion to the mean, or slightly below the mean of activity, not anywhere near a zero change or even a slightly negative change. So this is the latest. These are the top line insights from the latest Indiana farmland data. We're going to continue to provide insights based on this new data dump in the weeks and months ahead. We hope you follow along and stay connected. If you want to read the articles a part of this, be sure to click the links down below. Until next time, stay curious.